You runners will know this all too well. The anticipation and nervousness of race day. The feeling of impending doom, knowing in just a few hours your body will be riddled with pain and exhausted. I laughed the other day when I heard a great quote about running. Life is short, running makes it seem longer. And by God, that's true sometimes. The number of times I have sworn to myself that I will never ever run again. The last time was deep in the Amazon jungle, running a distance that the average person would think twice about driving. So why do we do it? Now, I don't think there is any one single answer. In the past, I have run for my own safety, to clear my head, and for my own sanity. But today, I'm running to support my friend. Graham is relatively new to running. He started 18 months ago in an effort to lose weight and to get healthy. Mentally, he was struggling too. He originally asked me to run with him in a race called The Escape from Meriden, a 24-hour prison break themed race with no finish line. You start from the centre of England and run as far as you can until you run out of energy or run out of time. But COVID put paid to that, but the sadistic race director from Beyond the Marathon cooked up another belter: day release. There's 3 main rules: as far out and back as you can in 24 hours on foot. The distance will be measured as the crow flies, with medals for 15, 30 and 45-mile milestones. And you must start at or very near to your own home. So Graham's goal was 15 miles as the crow flies, but in order to achieve that, we will need to run in excess of 38 miles, 12 miles further than Graham had ever run before. Oh, and 2 weeks ago, I was flat packed with COVID-19. Join us in this short film of Day Release 2020.
I've always had this bit of an itch to do an ultra, but this particular race appealed because it didn't have a finish line. And I've had a place for this race, or the one that got replaced previously, and bottled it and sold my place, and this year thought that's it, committed now.
It was actually quite an interesting concept because it means that in order to get a medal for covering 15 miles, you basically had to run 30 miles. You know, it was at least double. And in the end up, I think it was close to 38 miles. So to run 38 miles for a 15-mile medal just sounds absolutely crazy. But that's what made it a really interesting concept.
The race itself was a tracked event. You were measured as the crow flies in a straight line from A to B. The idea being start near home, and the rules say you had to finish back at your start point. So it was a case of finding a pretty straight line.
When I looked at the route that Graham had picked out, I thought, well, it's quite a decent route. One of the things that did worry me was the fact that there's quite a lot on road. You know, the traffic is really fast moving and you're pretty exposed, and I just thought, you know, 2 blokes running down there, it could be a little bit of a recipe for disaster. And it was a lot different to the trails that I'm kind of used to running.
I've learned over the, you know, not very long period I've been running, 3.5 years, that a lot of your successes and your failures, if you want to call them that, are in your head. I think it was a case of knowing what kit you needed with you on the day, nutrition, which I learned a lot from, but I think all that comes together for your mental preparation. That was the biggest part of it, really. I had a couple of injury worries. I have problems with me sacroiliac joints, where your back joins your hips, can stiffen your groins up, you know, and I set off like that on the day. But yeah, it was a slight concern, wondering whether that was going to get any worse throughout the day, really. I felt ready. I'd trained pretty hard for it. I was up early, felt great. Went to get my watch off charge, it hadn't charged. And panic set in. It was a case of get it charged, get on with it, and do it while we had daylight, really.
When we set off, I think we felt pretty good. I was ready to shake my legs out a little bit, having had a couple of weeks off with COVID, and I think Graham had beat himself, you know, he'd worked himself up for this race, and he was kind of ready for it. And we set off at a really good, steady pace.
The first couple of miles were quick. Craig and myself set off on pretty much a downhill course for the first mile and a half perhaps, very much downhill, steep hill. There's an elevation drop, something like 173 metres from my front door down to the River Severn, over the space of about a kilometre and a half, so that's good going.
And I just remember thinking, we've got to run up that at the end. So however far we go, and we didn't truly know how far it was, we've got to make our way up there.
The first couple of miles were interesting as well, in that both me and Craig, within the first kilometre, looked at each other and said, I need a toilet. We only just left a toilet. Typical, really.
It was a lovely day. It was an actual perfect day for running. And that meant that the scenery and everything, you could just have plenty of time, you know, plenty of good weather to enjoy it. And it definitely made for a real easy, interesting route out. Hey up! So we are just come to 4.5 miles in. Decent pace, just over 10-minute miles, a little bit of a walk up this hill now. But check this out, God, can't see because of the hedge. Here we go. There it is. Beautiful. Straight from the off, really, you know, we really worked on making sure that we're staying hydrated, making sure that we're getting enough to eat. 30 odd miles is enough to catch you out, you know, if you get those things wrong. So yeah, I was constantly snacking away on different foods and just chatting. We spent a lot of time chatting on the way out. You know, I pretty much poured the whole of my life out to Graham, and he just sort of listened as we plodded along. I think that's one of the beautiful things about doing ultras and kind of long distance runs, because you learn things about yourself and other people that you wouldn't normally be exposed. A really interesting point on the route was when we got to Wroxeter Roman city, where, you know, you could literally see the ruins from an old Roman settlement. You know, we stopped and had a quick photo, but I've never really spent time looking at that. I've always passed it in the car and thought, oh, I need to stop there and have a look. So it was nice to kind of see it, and it was a definite marker for us, a definite milestone on our run, that we was getting closer and closer to Shrewsbury. So we're not doing too bad. How are you finding it? All right now. Let's see what it's like at mile 35. There's a saying in Shropshire, don't go around the Wrekin, and it means
Long way round.
yeah, why go the long way around somewhere? Anyway, our run today has taken us around the Wrekin. So there you go, a bit of trivia. As I was approaching Shrewsbury, I didn't really let on too much, but I think like because of the weather, we was definitely sweating more than we'd expected, and therefore definitely leaching electrolytes and salts from the body, and I started to feel sick, and I was thinking, my God, you know, maybe COVID really is having an effect on me. My heart rate was already much higher than it normally would be going at that pace, and when the nausea started, I just thought maybe it's a sign that this is like a little bit too much, a little bit too early. But we decided we were going to slow down a little bit and then trot into Shrewsbury, maybe get a drink and something to eat and kind of see how we go. Right, we're about 14.5 miles in. Just got into the outskirts of, well, to the north of Shrewsbury. It's all going to plan. How are you feeling?
Alright, feeling alright.
You're feeling better than me, this kid. I'm starting to feel a little bit nauseous, but I know it'll pass. I think I just whacked in too many chocolate raisins and bits of Bounty. So yeah, it's going alright. Got a good natter. So we're going to get to halfway point, get met, replenish our water and all that kind of stuff, and then start making our way back. But there's a couple of cheeky hills on the way back, isn't there? Yeah. A very, very steep one at the end. So you can look forward to that. So we've just stopped for a little Costa. I'm going to get a little bit of Coke. I've got to say that, although I'm not really feeling it in my lungs and all that kind of stuff, I think COVID is having a little bit of an effect because my heart rate is really high. It was about 160 there, but so I'm bringing it down, just taking it nice and steady. Sometimes you can't beat Coca-Cola. On a normal day-to-day basis, I don't drink it. I think it's evil stuff. But halfway through an ultra, it is like, hallelujah. It's just incredible stuff. At this point, I mean, Graham was really strong. We were just cracking on, and I kind of knew that whatever happened, even if we had to limp home, we would make it. Now it was just a case of like, how good is it going to look? How much is it going to hurt? But it's definitely getting done.
When I was approaching halfway, I started to get cramp. It took me by surprise actually, because that was the kind of distance, or just over the kind of distance that I would normally, or have been normally running on a Sunday.
When you're doing an ultra like that, it's just good to think that, well, it's got to pass, you know what I mean? You can go through so many peaks and troughs on that kind of distance that at some point it's got to pass. We're just coming up to halfway, about half a mile away, and we've definitely been sweating more than we realised. Both just starting to cramp up a little bit, but other than that, we're doing all right. A little bit of walking, a little bit of running. So yeah, get to the halfway point, turn around, we're then getting met so we can resupply our water and stuff, and then we're gonna make our way back. Oh yeah, we're a bit of a downpour as well. Yeah.
The rain was refreshing. It wasn't cold, it wasn't too warm, it was just mild. It was almost perfect running weather really. And then Craig said to me, well, what you don't want is it raining too much, and you know, and then you get cold.
Graham seemed really happy with this, and I was like, I don't want rain. I don't want any rain, you know. I want it dry, but absolutely bucketed down. And every time I looked at Graham, he was really happy with it. And I'm thinking, geez, you know, this man's half. He must be more bloody amphibian than human, the way he's loving the rain so much. But what was nice is as the rain peeled back and the skies sort of lit up again, there was a beautiful rainbow. You know, it's a moment like that where running really does come into its own. You know, you really do appreciate the times when you see and experience beautiful things. You know, we got to what we thought was our turnaround, a tiny little village called Preston Gorbals. In fact, there was nothing there other than a bloody car garage, and we was like, well, how far do we need to go just to make sure that we hit that distance? And we ended up going, you know, about half a mile further down the road to like a prominent junction, and thinking, right, this has got to be it. And thankfully, the distance was bang on. So the halfway point, you know, we've been met by Graham's family, and they literally just opened the boot. We've got our stuff out because of social distancing whilst they waited in the car. I'd had a bit of something to eat, topped up my water bottles. I remember sending a message to my wife Paula, and then very soon afterwards we was off. We set off. I remember kind of running down the road, and kit was jingling about inside my pockets, inside my vest. And I was thinking, what is going on? I knew something was different. We'd got about, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile down the road, and I suddenly thought, my phone's no longer in there. So I said to Graham, listen, I've left my phone, I'm really sorry, you keep trotting on, and I'm going to run back.
And I didn't know what to do, in all honesty. I didn't know what to do for the best, because here was me running my first ever ultra, and knowing that I probably still had another 18, 19 miles to get back. Morally, I felt obliged to run back with Craig. All common sense says, I've got to keep going.
I could see the turmoil in his face. You know, he looked like a little puppy that had just left outside. And I know he felt a little bit guilty, but it made no sense at all. You know, this was his race, and you know, one thing needed to happen, and that was that he finished. It didn't really matter too much about me, and even if I had to walk in afterwards or whatever, it was just imperative that he ticked this off, and you know, and he completed it well. Oh, you won't believe this. I just left my phone I got about 500 metres down the road and I was like, oh my God, I've got to go back. Anyway, we've done our little replen. I've got to catch up with Graham now, so a little trot. His calves are cramping up, so that might help a little bit. But to be honest, I'm cramping too, man. It's a lovely day, and it's definitely just taking its toll a little bit in regards to like sodium intake and sweating, basically. So right, let's crack on. Gorgeous day. Getting tough though. There was a point where we were starting to panic a little bit because I'd kind of said, look, you know, our little race strategy, we're obviously both dehydrated and leaching electrolytes, so we need to rehydrate, we need to get some electrolytes inside us. So at the halfway point, we've got 4 or 5 miles down into Shrewsbury. Let's just drink everything. So by the time we get to Shrewsbury, we can just get into the shop and top up our water, and we're fine. And I misjudged it because when I thought, right, okay, we need to be thinking about getting into a shop and picking up some water now, there were no shops left.
We were racking our brains trying to think of somewhere we were going to get water, because even though we were running, you know, on the outskirts of a busy town, we were about to hit the countryside again, really.
And we was like, Jesus, we now got at least sort of 10, 15 miles to go with no water. And I was very much, you know, on the verge of like knocking on doors to say, you know, can we have some water and all this kind of stuff.
We spotted a sign for an Aldi supermarket, so Craig went in there, bought a big bottle of water, and we could top our bottles up again. And he said, Craig said he fancied something solid to eat, and I said, well, what are you going to get? And he said, I'll just get a pork pie or something. I've since seen some evidence that Craig might have a thing for pork pies.
One of the best moments was when we was approaching marathon distance, it suddenly dawned on Graham that, you know, I think his fastest marathon time is like 4:49 or something like that. It suddenly dawned on him that despite the fact I'd left my phone and I had to go back and get it, we were actually on track for his fastest marathon time ever. And I think, you know, if we really wanted to push on, we could have beat it. It's nice when people experience things like that because, you know, their idea of what they can and can't do, their limits change, and once you've stretched those limits, they can never go back to its original form. And that was, you know, something great to experience with Graham.
Well, I think actually I can remember 2 low points. The first one was on the A5. We were passing the front of Attingham Park. I just remember being on the flat and realising I was walking a lot. Craig was a good 10 yards ahead of me at this point. I think I owe that to him. I think he was just walking 10 yards ahead and keeping a good pace going just to keep me going. But I remember thinking at that point, you know, I'm still in Shrewsbury. I've got to get to Telford, and how am I going to do it? It's not going to be nice.
Let's have a little walk. Eating my pork pie. I don't know what Graham's problem is. He seems to take the piss when I said I was going to get a pork pie. I think what I was trying to do, I was just trying to break the route down. You know, there was definite milestones. So from the turnaround point to Shrewsbury to Atcham to Wroxeter to the next point, to the next point, to the next point, and then, you know, just break it down into little chunks. And it's like the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? You know, one bite at a time. And that's all you can do really, is just focus on one step at a time, one leg at a time. You know, and just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah, the point where I wasn't sure I was going to do it was when the cramps increased, I think. In my head, I was always going to do it, but I think physically, the point where I thought I wasn't going to do it was in Uffington on the way back, and the cramps were at a point where I was thinking, this is going to take me 10 hours just to get back from Shrewsbury. Any slight incline just seemed to put this additional strain on my calf muscles, and just felt like I'd been shot through the back of my legs.
There we go. Beautiful sunset. So it's just starting to get dark here. What are we on? 33 miles. For me, I did a bit more because I left my sodding phone. Kit checks. Gotta check your kit when you're getting out of checkpoints. But yeah, beautiful little sunset over there. On a distance like this, things are going to happen. You know, you're going to have down times. You're going to have tough times. You're going to have periods where you feel great. You're going to have periods where you feel sick. They're all problems to be solved. The minute you start to close in and you just think about the pain that you're in, or the aching, or you're starting to dwell on the distances, you just become a lot less resourceful. And when you're out there on the trails, you don't need all the resources in the world. You just need to have some resourcefulness. As I was approaching Bridgnorth, it's the town, the biggest sort of little village, hamlet or whatever before we got to Ironbridge, and it's not far from the finish. The sun was starting to set, and again it was just a beautiful moment where incredible sunset and really nice surroundings, sort of trotting along. By this time, we're obviously feeling a little bit of fatigue.
I think I'd reached that point where my body needed fuel, so I was at a point where I couldn't put any fuel in even though I needed it, and just thinking, I feel sick. Just felt sick, couldn't run at that point, and just thinking, I'm never doing another ultra. I'll stick to marathons.
Well, we are definitely getting closer. I remember this little town here, Bridgnorth, a couple of miles into the run, so I've got a big, massive chimney over there, which is a bit of a reference point for Ironbridge. So we're definitely getting closer. We're doing all right.
The theme for this race was a prison break, day release type theme, and the race director had this little fun theme where you've been watched by the crow and your distance would be measured by the crow. It meant that every time you saw a crow, you just thought, you're watching, because you've got a tracker on, and thinking, yeah, you're watching me, you just keep an eye on me, and there just seem to be crows everywhere.
The crows are watching us. I can feel them.
And it was a bit eerie, really, like this evil bird who's kind of following you and keeping a track on stuff.
It's definitely my favourite cottage of the day. Beautiful little place next to the river. Good. We're getting close. We're getting... not really close. We're getting close. Right in the back. Yeah, killing it.
As it started to get dark, we could make out like a tiny little red light on the top of this huge chimney, and that marks the power station at Ironbridge. And we ran, and I was thinking, right, that's our next marker, that's the milestone to get to.
We could see the top of the chimney at Ironbridge Power Station in the distance, and Craig said to me, there's your marker, and once you get to there, you're not far.
And this chimney just did not get any closer. It was like someone was moving the chimney away from us.
It was moving with us, I swear it was moving with us. I don't know if it's just the lie of the land or shape of the road or what, but I think we were just going round it instead of getting any closer. It was driving me insane.
But eventually we did, which meant it was into Ironbridge and was close to home.
So we're just walking in now, getting into Colebrookdale near Ironbridge. It's definitely taken its toll. The legs feel a bit battered, feet are sore. We're going to stop. There's a little co-op down here, so we're going to stop and get a drink in there, and then we've got the big hill to finish off. But the miles to do are getting few. He's put in an amazing effort at the back. Good lad. So in the interest of trying to take our mind off what we're doing, I've just got a question for you. So just tell me where you can feel pains in your body right now.
Right, left groin, that's an ongoing injury anyway.
Yeah.
Which I've been having treated. That's just stiff.
Right.
But new pains today.
Yeah.
I've had cramp in both my calves.
Yeah.
On and off, spasming. Cramp in both my knees.
Probably for the last 4 hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both knees. Now I've thought about it, my thighs are a little bit sore up towards my hips. Ball of my right foot's absolutely knackered.
There you go.
What are we now? 58 on my watch, 58 kilometres in.
Yeah,
So,
it's been a...
I can't complain really.
Yeah, I know, you've done great. It's a big step up. Big step up.
Definitely a big step up.
So you heard it here first, running with me makes you stiff in the groin. quick stop at the co-op. I went in and got a bit of coconut water and another drink for Graham.
I felt fairly normal again. It was strange. I don't know whether it was just being so close to the finish line, whether the fuel I'd taken on board earlier was starting to work, or what it was. We'd run a little bit downhill to it, so the legs had got moving again, and then we had to tackle Lincoln Hill.
This hill was pretty steep.
There we go. How you feeling, mate?
Surprisingly okay.
Well done, mate. Good effort.
Cheers, mate.
I think the best part was experiencing that with Graham, you know, a relatively new runner. You know, I'm not a very good runner, but I've run for a long time. And, you know, and I see running as a little bit of a gift that you pass on like a baton, you know, and it was almost like, you know, helping him get through that ultra distance was a gift, you know, and to experience that with him, and then to talk to him later about it and how chuffed he was definitely the best part of the day.
The future and goals. I can't contemplate doing 100. That still feels crazy. You know, I've seen Craig doing 100 and I know what it looks like. I don't think it's for me. So I've already got next year's escape from Meriden in my head. That'll be November in 2021. Leaving the village of Meriden near Coventry and getting as far as you can in 24 hours. I don't envisage getting anywhere near 24 hours, but if I get home it'll be probably 9 or 10 hours and you're probably talking 45 miles. So I think that's going to be, you know, my next marker beyond marathon distance, I think.
I think my biggest takeaway on the run was like just how much experience I'd amassed doing some of the multi-day endurance stuff that I'd done and some of the big races, and you know, and it really did kind of set me up for my own day release attempt that was coming in a couple of weeks. I'd kind of set my mind on perhaps going for the 100 miles, so after having done this, you know, 38 miles, I still felt pretty fresh at the end. I thought, maybe I can do this. Maybe I have got it in my abilities. Only time would tell.